Well, I want you to know that I have a friend. A very special friend. Sometimes I think that there isn't anyone in the whole world just like this friend of mine. He's that special. First of all, he's spiritual.
Oh, Jesus. Please, please, please.
Secondly, he's intellectual.
When you talk about police officers, you got black sheriffs, black chiefs, black mayors, black congresspersons. African Americans have moved forward. It's the system that she talked about, the whole moral conscience of a nation, the attitude. A lot of police officers are angry, frustrated, alcoholics, drug addicts. There's no moral demand on them, so they do anything.
Thirdly, he's the most humorous person I've ever known in my life.
When I get married, my wife is going to know that I am basically a self-centered person, not by nature, but that for the last several years, my world has revolved around me. When I get married, it's going to have to revolve around we. And I ain't used to revolving around we. But because I have that understanding, it'll be easier now for me to enter the relationship and let it revolve around us. Of course, it'll revolve a little bit more around me than it does she, but at least you'll be in the general vicinity of the revolving. You see what I'm saying?
Now you get that combination, and you've got something very special.
Some of you know that I got shot 4 times with a .32 caliber revolver. I remember asking God, why did you let it happen to me, your servant, your anointed servant, the man of God? They shot me through that finger, shot me on the left side above the kidney. I just finished preaching. I'd walked up and down the aisles preaching, be sober, be vigilant, for your adversary, the devil, walking about like a roaring lion, seeking who you may devour. Resisting man, I preached like a man from another world and got shot just as big as that. And that offended me. And you know where I got shot? In Oakland, earthquake country. You know God could have opened up the earth and swallowed that guy and let me go on about my business, but no, he let him shoot me. Shot me in that finger, shot me in the back, but here in the chest, point blank range, where it would have killed me, you know the story. Bounced off my chest like rocks. Didn't even break the skin. The bullets just hit me. I thought, my God, I thought I'd been shot with a pellet or a BB. That's what I told the doctor when they got me to emergency. I said, they got up, I said, don't worry about it. I wasn't even going to go. They wrapped my hand up, blood was down my arm, that little deal. And on the way out, I said, Helen, you look at it. Oh, we had just got some new uniforms for the girls, Helen and Sue, and they matched my breeches. They were real nice. And of course, I had paid for them. And we had very little, and we got them nice little wool gray. And I said, oh, Helen, girl, you tore your jacket. I didn't realize it was a gunshot wound. And she said, well, sure did. She didn't know till we got this part of her arm was hanging out where the bullet shot through. Now, it went in her. She needed to pray a little more. It bounced off me. I said, we've been shot with pellets and BBs. They said, no. Said, your secretary, first thing I said was, how's Helen? He said, well, the bullet went through her arm. I said, excuse me? He said, the bullet went through her arm. I said, we weren't shot with bullets. He said, oh, yes, sir. We've got the x-rays, and the police officers had picked up some of them. He said, you've been shot with bullets. I went, oh, my God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Some of y'all start speaking in tongues too late. And I said, Lord, of all people to let get shot, I can understand you letting Helen get shot, but not me. See, what folks don't know is that as far as the archaeologists can trace the human race, they trace us all back to the continent of Africa. The oldest living skeletal remain of a human being is a woman, an African woman. They call her Eve. So actually, we were all black at one time. That is until Cain sinned and he turned some of them white, but up until then it would all been black. Many folks never get a blessing in church. Okay, what's flowing? They won't get a blessing. They'll never be able to participate because it's too familiar with it. I found out in my church, and we have sort of what you would call a charismatic independent church, and we've got, at one time we had 60 Pentecostal families come. And if you want to see, when the Spirit of God moves, the ones that move the last ones are the classical Pentecostals. Because we've been in it all. We'd enrolled and frothed at the mouth and quickened and shouted and cast out devils. And women couldn't color their hair, they couldn't cut their hair, a lot of them didn't even bother to comb their hair, were just holding his head to look like they fell out the ugly tree and hit every branch coming down. And boy, I mean, God himself has to come down from heaven with a long beard and sandals for them to move. I mean, they ain't gonna move. Now you find the little charismatic folks, they don't even have to be God, they just be glad they're there. They've been a little dead, church all their life, and then they went to this, and they were just, man, this is getting down for them. From my background, you see, we used to, hey! Two different cultures, and you know, many times in the black culture, or the African American, or the Afro, I don't know what they call it. They change our name more than anybody in the world, you know. Sometimes a black person might tend to say to their kid, boy, get over there and sit down. Junior, if you don't get in this house. And the white person says, no, honey, come over here and sit down. Mother doesn't want you to do that. I'm going to hold your allowance away. We thought, what allowance? We didn't have no allowance. My daddy allowed me to sit at the table and eat some chicken. That was about it.
Or used to go on television, and then he'd go, and now I stretch forth these hands, and we bought some great big rubber hands. And now I stretch forth these hands. And one time I did it on camera. I used to do some silly things. I just haven't thought about this in 20 years. I used to go, and now I stretch forth these hands. My God, what is this all over? What is this all over my hands? That's when Kathy Lee and all those were there. They would sit out there and just go nuts laughing. Oral never saw it, of course.